Shattered trust. Olivia Reed adjusted her camera lens, focusing on the family of deer grazing in the meadow. At 32, she'd built a respectable career as a wildlife photographer, with her work featured in several nature magazines. The early morning light filtered through the trees, casting golden patterns on the forest floor. This remote cabin in the mountains was her sanctuary, a place where she could connect with nature and escape the noise of city life. Today was special. The 3-year anniversary of her relationship with Nathan Chen, a charismatic environmental lawyer she'd met at a conservation fundraiser. Nathan had been working late nights recently, preparing for a major case against a corporation accused of illegal logging. She understood his passion for protecting the wilderness they both loved, even if it meant seeing less of him. Olivia checked her watch and smiled. She had planned the perfect surprise, a weekend getaway at this secluded cabin. Nathan thought she was on assignment in Colorado, but she'd rearranged her schedule to be here. She'd invited him via text for what he believed was a client consultation about wildlife protection on private property. He'd be arriving any minute. The cabin behind her was prepared with care. A bottle of wine chilling, locally sourced ingredients for dinner, and photos of their adventures together displayed on the rustic wooden table. Olivia had even brought the emerald pendant Nathan had given her on their first anniversary, which she rarely wore during her outdoor expeditions. Her phone vibrated with a text from Zoe Lawson, her best friend since childhood. "Hope everything's perfect for the surprise." "He'll love it," Olivia smiled. Zoe had helped her plan this weekend, even suggesting this particular cabin which belonged to Zoe's uncle. Though different in many ways, Zoe being an impulsive, free-spirited artist while Olivia was methodical and reserved, their friendship had weathered the transitions of life. A car engine rumbled in the distance. Olivia quickly packed her camera and hurried toward the cabin, excited to witness Nathan's reaction. As she approached, she noticed a familiar blue sedan already parked behind the structure, Zoe's car. That was odd. Zoe had mentioned something about dropping off extra blankets earlier, but Olivia assumed she'd be gone by now. The cabin door was slightly ajar. Olivia pushed it open, stepping into the warm interior. "Hello?" she called out, but received no response. The wine she'd set out was open, 2 glasses partially empty on the counter. Hushed voices drifted from the bedroom, punctuated by soft laughter she recognized immediately. A sick feeling bloomed in her stomach as she moved silently across the wooden floor, her photographer's instinct to observe before being observed taking over. The bedroom door wasn't completely closed. Through the gap, Olivia saw them, Nathan and Zoe entwined on the bed she had decorated with wildflowers just hours before. His hands were tangled in Zoe's dark curls as he whispered something that made her giggle. "We should probably get dressed before Olivia arrives tomorrow," Zoe said, her fingers tracing patterns on Nathan's bare chest. "Though I'm starting to think we should just tell her." "It's been, 4 months now?" "I know," Nathan sighed, kissing Zoe's forehead. "After this case is done. She's been so supportive, I don't want to hurt her right before the biggest trial of my career." Olivia's camera slipped from her fingers, hitting the floor with a thud. The couple froze, looking toward the door as it swung open fully, revealing Olivia standing there, her face a mask of shocked disbelief. "Liv!" Nathan scrambled to cover himself, his expression shifting from surprise to guilt in an instant. Zoe clutched the sheet to her chest, her eyes wide. "Olivia, I can explain." But Olivia had already turned away, moving mechanically toward the door, gathering her keys and bag. Behind her, she heard rushed movements, pleas for her to stop, to listen. She stepped outside into the sunlight that now seemed harsh and revealing, exposing the ugly truth that had been hidden in shadow. As she drove away, the image of them together burned in her mind alongside the echo of their words. 4 months. While she'd been traveling for work, capturing the beauty of the natural world, the 2 people she trusted most had been betraying her in the most intimate way possible. At a scenic overlook miles down the mountain, Olivia finally pulled over, her hands shaking too badly to drive. She watched a hawk soaring in wide circles above the valley, free, solitary, and completely unaware of human complications below. In that moment, Olivia made a decision. She would not let their betrayal define her story. She would not scream or beg for explanations. Instead, she would find a way to reclaim her dignity and reveal the truth to everyone who needed to see it. The silent storm. For 3 days, Olivia disappeared from everyone's radar. She silenced her phone after the first 20 messages. Desperate apologies from Nathan, explanations from Zoe claiming it just happened, and questions from mutual friends who sensed something was wrong. Instead of responding, she retreated to a small lakeside motel where no one would think to look for her. In the quiet of her temporary sanctuary, Olivia allowed herself to feel everything: the searing betrayal, the hollow ache of loss, the humiliation of having been deceived for months. She cried until her tears ran dry, then moved through anger that made her hands shake as she sorted through photos on her laptop, including several of the 3 of them together, smiling as if nothing was wrong. On the 4th day, she finally checked her messages. Amid the apologies were urgent reminders about the upcoming Alpine Wildlife Conservation Gala, an annual charity event where her photographs would be auctioned to raise funds for habitat protection. Nathan was scheduled to give the keynote address about his landmark case, and Zoe had created artwork for the event. All 3 served on the organizing committee, and their absence would be conspicuous. A new message arrived from Eliza Johnson, the gala chair. "Olivia, we need final confirmation on your photo selections for the auction. Also, is everything okay? Nathan mentioned you might be taking some personal time." Olivia's fingers hovered over the keyboard. The gala was in 2 weeks. Enough time. She began typing. "I'll be there with my selections. Everything is fine. In fact, I have a special presentation I'd like to add to the program." That evening, she ventured out with her camera for the first time since the discovery. The lake was still, reflecting the mountains and early stars like a perfect mirror. Olivia captured the image, thinking about surfaces and what lay beneath them. By morning, a plan had crystallized in her mind. She returned to the city the next day, ignoring calls from Nathan and Zoe, but responding politely to work-related messages. She moved her belongings from the apartment she shared with Nathan into a small sublet with the quiet efficiency that made her an excellent wildlife photographer. Patient, methodical, and observant. When Nathan came home to find half the closet empty, he called in a panic. This time, Olivia answered. "Liv, please, we need to talk about this," he pleaded. "We will," she replied, her voice steady. "At the gala." "The gala? That's in public, with everyone there." "Yes," she said simply, then ended the call. Over the next 10 days, Olivia dedicated herself to preparation. She contacted their mutual friend Julian, a tech expert who owed her a favor, to help compile digital evidence. She spoke with Eliza about modifying the program, slightly to include what she described as a special retrospective of conservation milestones. She selected her photographs. For the auction, powerful images of endangered species in their natural habitats, including wolves that mated for life. Zoe appeared at her studio 2 days before the gala, eyes red-rimmed and pleading. "Olivia, please, I know we hurt you terribly, but exposing this at the gala will damage the cause we all care about. Think about the animals, the conservation work." Olivia looked at her childhood friend, the girl who had once helped her bandage injured birds, who had cried with her when Olivia's mother died. Now she saw a stranger using their shared passion as emotional leverage. "I'm always thinking about the preservation of natural things, Zoe," Olivia replied calmly, "including truth. You should wear the blue dress to the gala. It photographs well." The night before the event, Olivia sat alone in her temporary apartment, finalizing her presentation while rain lashed against the windows. Her phone lit up with a message from an unfamiliar number. "This is Marcus Reyes. Eliza gave me your contact as I'm handling the technical aspects of tomorrow's projections. Just confirming we're still meeting at 3 p.m. for setup?" She confirmed the appointment, grateful for this unknown ally in the technical booth. The storm outside mirrored the one inside her, powerful, inevitable, and clearing a path for whatever would come after. On the morning of the gala, Olivia awoke with a strange sense of calm. She dressed carefully in a silver gown that caught the light like water, applied makeup that accentuated her green eyes, and wore the emerald pendant that Nathan had given her, one last time, a reminder of what had once felt real. At the venue, she met Marcus Reyes, a tall man with kind eyes and an efficient manner. He listened attentively as she explained the exact timing for her special presentation. "It's important that this comes immediately after Nathan Chen's keynote, before the auction begins," she emphasized. Marcus studied her for a moment. "This is more than just a conservation retrospective, isn't it?" The Elegant Vengeance. The Alpine Wildlife Conservation Gala transformed the historic Blackwood Hotel ballroom into an enchanted forest. Canopy-like drapes hung from the ceiling, while projections of dappled light created the illusion of sunshine filtering through leaves. Olivia's photographs, powerful images of wolves, bears, and mountain lions in their natural habitats, adorned the walls, each with a silent auction placard beneath. At the center tables, conservation donors mingled with environmental activists and wildlife photographers. Olivia circulated among them, accepting compliments on her work with gracious nods, while keeping Nathan and Zoe in her peripheral vision. They were doing their best to maintain professional distances from each other, though Olivia caught their furtive glances, their silent communications across the room. "Your work is extraordinary," said a woman admiring Olivia's photograph of two wolves silhouetted against a winter moon. "The intimacy you capture between mated pairs is remarkable." "Thank you," Olivia replied. "I've always been fascinated by species that mate for life. The loyalty is instructive." The woman smiled knowingly. "Nature has much to teach us about fidelity, doesn't it?" As dinner concluded, Eliza Johnson approached the podium. "Before we begin our auction, we have the privilege of hearing from Nathan Chen about the landmark case that's creating new protections for our wilderness areas." Applause filled the room as Nathan took the stage, his confident smile firmly in place. He launched into his carefully prepared speech about corporate responsibility and environmental stewardship. Olivia watched him with detached interest, noting how his charisma captivated the audience, the same charisma that had once captivated her. "And so I believe that protecting our natural world isn't just about legal frameworks," Nathan concluded. "It's about honoring commitments, respecting boundaries, and being truthful about our intentions." His eyes found Olivia's briefly, a silent plea embedded in his words. "Thank you." As applause erupted again, Eliza returned to the microphone. "Thank you, Nathan, for those inspiring words about integrity and commitment. Now, before we move to our auction, we have a special presentation from Olivia Reed, whose breathtaking photography has helped raise awareness for so many endangered species. The room darkened as Olivia approached the podium. Behind her, the large screen illuminated with her opening slide, "The Nature of Trust," in elegant script over an image of intertwined trees supporting each other through decades of growth. "Good evening," Olivia began, her voice steady. "As photographers, we're taught to observe carefully, to wait for the perfect moment of revelation. Nature doesn't hide its truths. It simply requires patience to see them." The slides advanced to show her photographs of wildlife in vulnerable moments. A mother bear protecting her cubs, eagles bringing food to their young. These images represent what I value most: loyalty, protection, and honesty. From his position at the technical booth, Marcus gave her a subtle nod. The next slide appeared, a photograph of Olivia, Nathan, and Zoe at last year's gala, smiling together. "Many of you know that beyond our professional connections, Nathan, Zoe, and I share personal bonds. Nathan has been my partner for 3 years, and Zoe has been my closest friend since childhood." Murmurs of appreciation rippled through the crowd. Olivia continued, "I've always believed that the best relationships, like the most balanced ecosystems, are built on mutual respect." The next slide changed to a text message exchange between Nathan and Zoe from 4 months earlier, discussing their secret meeting while Olivia was on assignment. Then another, a credit card statement showing Nathan's purchase of jewelry Olivia had never received, delivered to Zoe's address. A hushed silence fell over the room. In the audience, Nathan straightened in his chair, his face draining of color. Zoe's hand flew to her throat. "When I document wildlife," Olivia continued, her voice unwavering. "I often witness territorial displays, mating rituals, and occasionally predatory behavior. Recently, I observed something similar in my own habitat." The next slide showed Olivia's own photograph, taken through the cabin bedroom door with her professional camera, capturing Nathan and Zoe in a passionate embrace. The timestamp was clearly visible. "This was taken at our anniversary celebration last week," she explained calmly, as if discussing the migration patterns of birds. "A moment of truth captured with the same patience and observation I bring to all my subjects." Gasps and whispers erupted. At a table near the front, Nathan's parents stared in shock. Beside them, the senior partners from his law firm exchanged glances. "I'm sharing this not out of vengeance," Olivia said, her voice softening, "but because I believe in conservation, of dignity, of truth, and of consequences. The natural world teaches us that actions have repercussions, and that sometimes painful revelations lead to necessary growth." The final slide appeared, a magnificent sunrise over mountains, symbolizing new beginnings. "Thank you for supporting wildlife conservation tonight. The auction will now begin, with all proceeds going directly to protecting habitats and the authentic relationships that flourish within them." She stepped away from the podium to stunned silence, followed by a slow building of applause that seemed to carry equal parts admiration and discomfort. As she walked through the crowd, people parted before her, some reaching out to touch her arm in solidarity, others averting their eyes. Nathan stood frozen by his table, his professional reputation visibly crumbling around him as his firm's senior partners spoke in hushed tones. Zoe had disappeared entirely. At the exit, Marcus waited, a look of respect in his eyes. "That was the most dignified response to betrayal I've ever witnessed," he said quietly. Olivia removed the emerald pendant from her neck and placed it in a donation box for the auction. "Some habitats can't be preserved," she replied, "but new ones can always be discovered." Outside, the night air felt clean against her skin. For the first time in weeks, Olivia took a deep, untroubled breath. The storm had passed, leaving destruction in its wake, but also the clear, open possibility of what might grow in its place: unexpected connections. 3 weeks after the gala, Olivia found herself on a small research vessel off the Pacific coast. The boat rocked gently beneath her feet as she adjusted her camera settings, capturing a pod of orcas breaching in the distance. This assignment, documenting marine conservation efforts for National Geographic, had come at the perfect time, allowing her to escape the aftermath of her revelation. "They're a matriarchal society," said a deep voice beside her. "The females lead the pod, and family bonds can last a lifetime." Olivia turned to find Marcus Reyes watching the orcas, the wind ruffling his dark hair. As the marine biologist leading the research expedition, he'd been a constant, unobtrusive presence over the past week. Unlike the others who treated her with the awkward deference reserved for someone publicly wounded, Marcus spoke to her normally, his manner neither pitying nor overly cautious. "Do they ever betray those bonds?" she asked, lowering her camera. He considered the question seriously. "They face threats, pollution, food scarcity, habitat loss, but not from within. Their survival depends on trust." Something in his matter-of-fact tone loosened a knot in her chest. "Must be nice," she murmured. "Humans are more complicated," Marcus acknowledged. "Which reminds me, you received some messages while the satellite phone was working." He handed her a folded paper. "I wrote them down." The messages were from Julian, her tech friend. "Nat Geo loves your initial shots. Also, thought you should know, Nathan's firm placed him on leave pending an ethics review. Zoe's art exhibition was canceled." Olivia folded the paper, feeling a complicated surge of emotions. She had wanted consequences, not destruction. "Do you think I went too far?" she asked suddenly. Marcus leaned against the railing. "Would you ask that about exposing illegal logging or poaching? That's different." "Is it?" His eyes, a deep brown with flecks of amber, met hers directly. "You documented a violation of something essential. Whether it's an ecosystem or a relationship, some breaches need exposure." They stood in silence, watching the orcas disappear beneath the waves. Later that evening, as the research team gathered in the ship's small galley for dinner, Olivia noticed how Marcus listened intently to each person, asking thoughtful questions about their work. There was a genuine curiosity about him that reminded her of what she loved about photography, the desire to truly see. When the conversation turned to personal matters, Marcus mentioned losing his wife, Elena, to cancer 3 years earlier. "She was a marine conservationist too," he said quietly. "She taught me that grief changes you, but it also connects you to parts of life you couldn't see before." Olivia felt his words resonate through her. That night, she stood on the deck under a canopy of stars, letting the ocean air wash over her. For the first time since the betrayal, she felt the possibility of something beyond the pain. Not healing exactly, but evolution. Days on the vessel fell into a rhythm. Mornings were spent tracking marine movements, afternoons documenting conservation techniques. Olivia found herself increasingly partnered with Marcus, whose knowledge of ocean ecosystems complemented her visual storytelling. Full circle. 6 months later, Olivia stood in a sunlit gallery in Seattle, surrounded by her photographs from the Climate Adaptation Project. The exhibition, titled Resilience, featured images from ecosystems around the world responding to change. Desert flowers blooming after unexpected rain, forests regenerating after fire, coastal communities adapting to rising seas. "These are extraordinary," said Eliza Johnson, examining a photograph of mangroves creating new shorelines. "You've captured something beyond survival. There's a kind of wisdom in these images." Olivia smiled, watching guests move through the space. The last half-year had taken her to 5 continents, each location teaching her something about adaptation and renewal. Throughout her travels, she and Marcus had maintained a connection through video calls, shared research articles, and occasionally meeting when their work brought them to the same region. Their relationship had developed with deliberate slowness, building a foundation neither rushed nor hindered by their respective pasts. "Is Marcus coming tonight?" Eliza asked. "His flight lands in an hour," Olivia replied, checking her watch. "He's finishing up research in Costa Rica." As she greeted visitors and explained her photographic techniques, Olivia felt a centeredness that had once seemed impossible. The exhibition was more than a professional achievement. It marked a personal transformation. Each image represented a lesson learned through her own process of adaptation. Near the entrance, a television crew was setting up for interviews with featured environmental artists. "Ms. Reed," called the producer, "we'd like to get some footage of you discussing your work. Would now be convenient?" As Olivia moved toward them, the gallery door opened. Nathan stood in the entryway, looking thinner than she remembered, his confident posture diminished. Beside him was Zoe, her once vibrant presence subdued. Olivia felt the familiar surge of adrenaline, but it passed quickly, replaced by a strange calmness. After signaling the producer to wait, she approached her former partner and friend. "We saw the exhibition announcement," Nathan said, his voice tentative. "Your work is receiving national attention." "Congratulations," Zoe added softly. "You've always deserved this recognition." Olivia regarded them with detached curiosity, like studying subjects through her lens. The pain they had caused felt distant now, a scar rather than an open wound. "Thank you for coming," she said simply. "Olivia," Nathan began, clearly rehearsed, "we owe you a proper apology. What we did was unforgivable, but we hope you can—" "I forgave you months ago," she interrupted, surprising herself with the truth of it. "Not for you, but for me." Carrying that anger was exhausting. Zoe's eyes filled with tears. "We destroyed everything between us." "Yes," Olivia acknowledged. "But that created space for new growth." She gestured toward the photographs surrounding them. "That's what all of this is about." A movement at the gallery entrance caught her attention. Marcus had arrived carrying a small potted plant with delicate white flowers. His eyes found hers across the room, his smile warming when he noticed her company. Rather than interrupting, he moved to examine the photographs, giving her space. "Is that him?" Nathan asked, following her gaze. "Julian mentioned you were seeing someone." "Yes," she said. "A marine biologist. We met at the gala, actually. Zoe let out a small, ironic laugh. So something good came from that night. Many things did, Olivia corrected. I found my voice as an artist. I discovered what I could endure. And I learned that sometimes the end of one story is necessary for another to begin. Nathan looked at her with genuine regret. We miss you in our lives. I know. Olivia nodded, feeling neither vindication nor bitterness. But we can't go backward. None of us would fit in those old spaces anymore. The producer approached again, apologetically signaling that they were ready for her interview. Olivia excused herself, touching both Nathan and Zoe briefly on the arms, a gesture of closure rather than reconciliation. As she moved away, Olivia caught Marcus watching their exchange. When their eyes met, he raised an eyebrow in silent question. She gave a small nod, letting him know she was all right. The interview passed in a blur of questions about her artistic process and environmental message. Throughout, Olivia was aware of Marcus moving through the gallery, studying each photograph with genuine interest. When Nathan and Zoe left quietly, he noticed but didn't comment. Later, as the crowd thinned, Marcus presented her with the potted plant. Moonflower, he explained. They only bloom at night. I thought it was appropriate. Beauty emerging from darkness. She touched the delicate buds. They'll open tonight? If we're patient, he confirmed. After the gallery closed, they walked along the waterfront, the city lights reflecting on Puget Sound. Marcus told her about his research findings in Costa Rica. His enthusiasm for tiny ecosystem adaptations contagious. Olivia shared stories from her recent trip photographing glacier changes in Patagonia. I've been offered a position at the Oceanographic Institute here, he said eventually. A research directorship? Olivia stopped walking, turning to face him. You're staying in Seattle? I'm considering it. His expression was open, vulnerable. I've spent 3 years moving constantly since Elena died. Maybe it's time to establish new roots. The implication hung between them, a question neither rushed to answer. I've been thinking about base camps, Olivia said carefully. In mountaineering, you need a secure place to return to between expeditions. Seattle could be a good base camp, Marcus suggested, taking her hand. It could, she agreed, stepping closer. When he kissed her, it felt like a continuation rather than a beginning, another step in a journey they'd been on since that night on the research vessel. His arms around her were steady, offering connection without possession. They walked back to her apartment, where she placed the moonflower on the balcony under the night sky. As predicted, the buds were slowly opening, releasing their subtle fragrance. It's beautiful, Olivia murmured, leaning against Marcus as they watched the transformation. Nature always finds a way forward, he replied, his arm warm around her waist. Later, their lovemaking had the same quality as their relationship, attentive, unhurried, built on genuine seeing. In the gentle exploration of each other, Olivia felt neither the ghost of betrayal nor the shadow of Marcus's loss, but rather the present moment, rich with its own authenticity. In the morning, light filtered through the curtains as Olivia reached for her camera, capturing Marcus asleep beside the now-closed moonflowers. The image seemed to complete something in her collection of resilience, the human capacity to bloom again after darkness. When he stirred, opening his eyes to find her photographing him, his smile held no self-consciousness. What do you see through that lens? He asked sleepily. Olivia reviewed the image, then set her camera aside to join him. New growth, she said, settling into his embrace, and the beginning of a different kind of conservation project. Outside, the city was awakening, people moving toward their daily lives, ecosystems adapting to constant change. Inside, in the quiet space they had created together, Olivia and Marcus held each other, two beings who had learned that some endings, however painful, could lead to beginnings worth discovering, if only you were brave enough to focus the lens on what might be possible next.